the month of April, exactly 50 years ago, the Beatles recorded what would become their trend-setting album, Revolver. The album introduced a new and mature sound to the Fab Four. It experimented with production techniques, sounds, and musical ideas entirely new to Western popular music. But it was that one song, Tomorrow Never Knows. You can hear that Indian raga, you can hear the tambura. It was that one song, Tomorrow Never Knows, a kind of rock Indian raga, using lyrics from the instructions to Timothy Leary's guide to Turning On, Man, which he called the Psychedelic Experience. If you don't remember the song, here's how it went.
Turn off your mind, relax and please. It is not dying. It is not dying. Hate and all not surrender to it. It is shining. It is shining. That you may see the meaning of
To John Lennon, the words of the 20th century had to be overcome. In his own right, he had rendered the ego of language impotent. Sing just one true word of love, and you'll be free, he said. But to know that word, Lennon had discovered we would have to overcome ourselves. The Fab Four had already immersed themselves in this kind of idea through their meditation retreats to India and their experiments with acid. Now, Dr. Timothy Leary's experiments at Harvard were actually based on the Tibetan Book of the Dead, properly titled the Bardo Thodol. The Bardo state is that transition state between life and death. And through LSD, Leary wanted to replicate the psychic moment when one is released from ego, from the body, and from the slavery and suffering of self. He wanted to study the chemically induced state of someone who is able to commune fully with the otherness around them, and to feel that otherness so deeply that a sense of profound wholeness enters your life for the very first time. It's late in the evening in London's EMI studio, April 1966, exactly 50 years ago today. And Paul says, right there in the recording session, "I'll be strolling on the sea cold for the whole song, John." John answered, "It's like an Indian raga, no chord changes." George explains, Yeah, it's Timothy Leary, the LSD chap from Harvard. He's got this ritual to accompany 30 cc's of acid. It's a guided 10-hour trip, man. Turn off your mind, relax, and float downstream. Surrender to the void. Sounds easier than meditation, Ringo says. George replies, same principle though, a total collapse of the ego, chemically induced transcendence. But you have to need a guide to keep it positive, you know, to keep your bloody fears from blocking your view of what you've never been able to see before. John is strumming earnestly on that C chord, suggesting a chant to the other members of the band. And Tibetan monks begin to appear in the overtones of the music, like drone notes from the ocean of wisdom, the sound of the universe, where you can feel that odd rest on the fourth beat in the bar. It's a momentary silence that consumes the listener. The rhythm suggests Indian tabla, heartbeats and cosmic footsteps, crossing Kashmir or crossing Nepal, up and over Himalaya, toward Tibet, across the universe from the very peak of Everest. These visions are your mind in its psychedelic experience, allowing everything in, everything as one. Some audio tape loops which Paul has recorded are fed backwards through the 4-track tape studer. They become voices from another realm where the naming of things seems unimportant and less relevant to understanding. The tape loops slip forever backwards to the origins of the vibration, the origins of sound itself. Take 3 of the rhythm tracks of the recordings. The one the Beatles would eventually use on Revolver was an improvisation of sounds and tape loops that could never be replicated ever again. And John's vocal was sent through the Leslie speaker, whirling round in its eternal chant from the mountaintop. He sings, "Play the game of existence to the end." And that last note reverberates and decays into oblivion, becoming the void. The 15 seconds at the end of the side 2 of Revolver becomes eternal silence, the end of the beginning.